recording 3, zero pressure, no makeup, just good vibes. So how many of you remember Tushauriane? Tushauriane was a program. It used to air on KBC Channel 1. It was curated the same way Tausi was curated, but I guess Tushauriane was a little bit deep. Was it Tushauriane? Of course, I don't know if there's a different name, but it's Tushauriane. In that there was some sexual bit of conversations in that program that was eventually, it was dropped from airing. I think we only saw a bit of the season 1, if that was the labeling before. I can't keep a lot of dates or put in a lot of gists into some things, because my mind is aligned towards the photographic bit of things. So Tushauriane it is, and I wanted to hear, maybe you can share on the comment section. Let me turn on the comments, and which programs do you think on TV or on radio like raised you up? Because nowadays you have a lot of conversations about deadbeat men, absentee men, present fathers, present mothers, like dad, you know. Then it was just baba, mama, full stop. Dad and mom were things we used to hear from our friends whose fathers were a bit high up in the hierarchy, or they were doctors or living these nice estates. So you could hear, say, my dad, my mom, or these kids from private schools. As it was just baba, mama, and that's enough conversation, and it ends there. So I wanted to hear from you, which conversations or which programs on radio really helped to put that sense of upbringing to you closer home. It may not be parenting, but there's a way that you listen to a program or a conversations on TV or on radio, and they shaped the personality or your character in a way. You know, nowadays you have journalists they're journalists, then on their social media they're promoting alcohol, or they're influencing some cigarettes, they're influencing some brand of dressing or something. So that was not there before. So this is diabolical, you know. This is like, it's by polish. It's just something like that. So it's like two sides of the same coin, you know. Saying this on radio, on social media is a different personality, because life has actually managed to achieve that. Like the simulation is able to achieve that, to make people behave in different ways, in different personas, and it's so seamless. You would feel like there's nothing. You just need to be away from that distraction, so that you realize that there's something totally off with the programming of my top radio presenter, you know. But you just copy that, you emulate that, and follow it up with you in your life. So I guess growing up, Tushauriane, you had Tausi, they really helped to shape conversations about sex. You had Vioja Makamani shaping conversations about the workplace, about crime, about fraud, about violence. You had Vitimbi, Vitimbi actually, a lot of conversations about sexual and gender-based violence, I believe, about marital affairs, extramarital affairs, and etc., etc. I'm trying to pick another program. I can't I really want to remember the name. Yeah, I'm almost I'm almost picking it up, but I'm not sure if I can pick it up at the right time. But yet again, there is a conversation. There is comedy. Ridiculous. Ridiculous really helped to shape conversations while at that moment, because you had a president who was regarded as a dictator, and you had the predecessors who also took it up but showed some semblance of dictatorship or leniency towards governance and structures and development. So at that moment, those conversations, those people really helped to propagate some ideals about how the society is supposed to grow up, because you cannot entirely expect to on the village. You have to be alert, so you cannot entirely expect to have programs, shows that do not shape our conversations or do not help to build character or personalities. Yeah, so all this relates to a conversation on that I just wanted to bring up on Shauriane. And I think the second last recording that I did, I was thinking about textiles. I just want to be open in this conversation about sex styles, about sex, about relationships, and all that being brought up on radio. And now that they become the norm in our daily conversations, in our 6 to 10, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., you will scroll, or you will scan through radios, and that's the like 90% of the content will revolve around that. And that entirely shows you how much we've actualized, or we've accepted those conversations in our daily norms, and they shape our conversations daily, and in great essence makes us lose track of what should be done between 6 to 10 a.m. Because I would rarely wake up to listen to radio. Before I could, I remember sometimes in 2018 or 2019, 2020, especially 2019, I listened to a lot of radio, if you know what that means, because then there are conversations that were being shaped by some personalities on some radio stations, and you would feel like there's some trajectory of growth in radio, then there was a slump, and when there's a slump, you check out, you shift. And I guess that's why there was a growth in podcasts. You started hearing people have started podcasts, have started they're doing YouTube, and yeah, I mean, a lot of podcasts started coming up almost, I think, during that time, and not all of them have managed to stand up to the occasion. You know, some just falter, some just are swayed by politics and they falter. Uh, some are bought by the regime or something. They get sponsored by some non-script organizations or some looks like a government project, and now they no longer make sense because for them they know if they impress you or they don't impress you, they've secured the bag. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, they've secured the bag, and that's really something that we should really talk about, is the sustainability of an idea, of a concept that is supposed to propagate ideals of nationalism, philosophy, of development, that is conscious conversations, enlightenment, you know, awakening. You know, why should you sort of have yourself intertwined in government projects or intelligence gathering and that sort of thing? So yeah, that 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 is the essence of such conversation. Speaking of people who help to build your personality and your character, I think 2019 I was really confident I would land on radio with this small voice that I have. You know, I usually tell people that I can't shout if there's no money. So I'd rather just speak with my small voice, struggle with it. You know, sometimes people saying, Johnny anasema nini? Or Jonte anasema nini? But I'm just keeping my voice so small because I don't want to shout, you know. I've just told you, don't do this A, B, and C. So why do you want me to shout? And you've heard me speaking. So during that period of 2019, there's this radio station. I don't want to mention the name. I don't want to mention the personalities, but I really loved their conversations. My 6 to 10 were really great. And to an extent, one of those radio staff had a program during the weekend, and it exclusively did African music, you know, the Afropop, the Lingala, the Benga, you know. Ajawa then was not that big, but some old Benga and Ohangla, and some country music, one or there, and throwing in some beats. So those really helped to shape my personality and my character. You know, when you have such programs, you clearly know that by 6 you've woken up, you've already showered. If you're maybe working from home and the things you're doing between 6 to 10, or if at all you have to go to work, then you buy yourself some earphone. So even if it's those Katululu phone, or you remember the conversation we had about smartphones not having apps for radio, so that you just click it and it picks a signal based on the earphones. That still hurts. I'm going to talk about it until they resolve that issue. That is a painstakingly terrible mistake, forcing us to put some things on our ears and walk with them along the road. It's like putting some cotton on your ears. You know, you totally block yourself from other people. It's not cool. You would think it's cool helping you to multitask, but you're blocking yourself away from humanity. People want to talk to you and share conversations. You have things on your ears, and I think I used to have even the earpods, and I gave out to someone else, and I said, it's not my thing. Like, it's never been my thing. I try it. It's cool, almost cool, not cool. And it's not an age thing. It's not a millennial thing. Because I see a lot of people, even past 40 or something, having them on. So that conversation is not gonna come up. You're not gonna win. You are not gonna win. So you have those timings, in the morning, that this is what you're supposed to do. During the weekends, you shape your program, your itinerary, so that during this time this guy is gonna be on radio. I have work from Monday, so you have your you prepare your full set of clothes for the whole week. So on Monday it's official, some official clothing. On Tuesday, relax a bit. On Wednesday, you're relaxing. On Thursday, relaxing. On Friday, more relaxing. Saturday and Sunday, you jump into the pajamas. So these radio stations, it's how you program them with your daily life. And you don't program them with something an habit that is bad. You can't program them with alcohol. And like we've said, nowadays when you have radio bigwigs marketing some alcohol brand, then you tend to feel like when they have the show on, you should take that brand of alcohol, because it's programming that has been put in your mind that you saw him taking it, so it just feels cool. And you see, at a certain age, when you're not able to make those conclusive decisions about the impact of alcohol and cigarette, especially when it's uncontrolled, your mind is totally blanked out. You just do it, and you sort of go and you regret later. I don't see those pristine, exquisite influence on food, and I think that would be something really nice. I am a great fan of the late Boudouin, and some of his conversations about food, about culture, about travel, those really shaped me. Albeit that was on YouTube and stuff, those streaming, whatever. So that is not particularly radio, but they did shape. He did shape me in a way. He did spark something in me at some point. So the real essence of radio, the real essence of those programs and shows and those radio personalities, is to spark something in you, not dry conversations. You listen today, and tomorrow is gonna speak about this. The other day is gonna speak about this, and like nothing is gonna change. Though for the general mass population, they will be excited because maybe it's something they're used to. If you tune into a radio station and today they'll speak about relationship X at a certain time, tomorrow they'll do the same continuously. Like, that is not something that I want to plug into. It's not building me in a way. I'd rather listen to it on TikTok for 30 seconds. Get those memes and just laugh and forget about it. It's not worth my entirety of time, That's what I mean. So conversations that shape your persona, conversations that shape how you view life, conversations that spark those moments of you being inquisitive, of of just questioning life the way it is, rather than being distracted, Because when they removed that program to Shauriani, we were asking ourselves, why did they remove it? And I think there was an episode that was airing, and at some point it was becoming a bit, there's some almost sexual interaction that was close to happening. You could, at that age, tell that this is gonna lead to sex. You understand? And it's on the 7 to 9 time when children are still awake. So definitely, someone from government, from the regulator, or from the ministry, might have placed a call and said, that is not appropriate, please remove it. So, because they definitely knew that is gonna shape children and teenagers in a certain way, and then definitely it would not have been appropriate. So those are the times you say the government is involved in supporting parents in bringing up children, so that the edutainment, the shows, programs on TV and radio do not affect the growth of children badly. And so those bands, stopped those programs. And when you see me remembering about it, it's because I think I was part of that generation that really watched a lot of TV programs. The Bold and the Beautiful, that was on TV. Of course, that you couldn't listen on radio, but you have a highly sexualized program that, not a hyper sexualized program with no sex in it. It's just it is high, very steamy conversations, but there's no point you'd see sex. But in your mind, you're making conclusions that, this so and so is speaking. Definitely, if you see someone being carried and they go to a certain room and it's closed, then that is what is happening. But of course, when they're shooting it, of course they're going to have lunch, or they're breaking for another, or they're going to change their clothes for another set. But that's what you've put in your mind. That's what's gonna happen, because for that moment, there are video shows coming up in the village, and when you go and watch them, there is one instance of that happening, and you already, your mind is programmed. When a man approaches a woman, starts some nice sweet conversations and talks about A, B, and C, D, and the lady starts reacting, and she looks shy, and she's blushing, and the face is steamy, and the man holds her hand and walks her to some room, then that's gonna happen. So programming for us started from a very young age, and you see access to this radio and TV, which sometimes was uncontrolled. That 5 shillings that we used to pay to watch a video show, that was sometimes that was detrimental. Now it is us parenting ourselves at our age and saying, but now what you used to go and do is not good. The alternative was buying a maize or eating jugu karanga, but you see that is for that just that moment. But for what essence is information? Because you experience that and you questioned that. Of course, maybe you had particular programs or movies that you wanted to watch because they shaped your thinking and your personality. You know, when you sit down with someone and they say, "Hey, umechanuka, boss, unajua vitu mob." But there are some who are just to pass time. But closely, I'm learning to understand that a lot of Nigerian movies were clearly were depicting what the society is, and it's really incumbent on that we bring those programs back on so that people watch and learn, because whatever is happening, you know, those programs really reflect what is going on in the society. We're gonna stop there and come up with something as we keep recording. This is recording 3. What will be shared on Radio Rewind, my YouTube channel. Have yourselves. Oh, it's midday here. This has been recorded in it's not midday, it's past midday. So have yourself an entirely great day wherever and whenever you listen to this, or night. You might listen to it at whatever time. So whatever time you listen to it, have yourself a good moment. Let's keep having more of these conversations, and yeah, I hope next time when I'm hosting a podcast, they'll do a nice makeup on me. But this is really cool, you know. It's a really good start. Yeah, Radio Rewind, going back deep into those conversations.